Welcome to MagicGatheringStrat. I'm Peyton. This is my first video for Dan at mtgostrat.com. I'm doing a deck tech on a mono-black combo Elder Dragon Highlander build. The combo itself was not expressly my idea, but the build around the combo is unique. So let's get started. Okay, so the whole point of this EDH deck is that it revolves around our general, Maryland of the Mornsong. It's probably kind of hard to see, so I'm going to read it. It's a legendary creature, Elf Wizard. She's a 2/3 for 2 black mana and 1 colorless. She reads, players can't draw cards, and at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life, searches his or her library for a card, puts it into his or her hand, then shuffles his or her library. So basically Maryland is forcing us to Grim Tutor every turn, which is basically where the combo comes from. We need to tutor up our combo pieces. Sorry if this gets a little weird with my reading and stuff. I'm filming backwards, so try to bear with me. Now the combo itself stems from the combination of Ad Nauseam, which is a 5-cost instant. You reveal cards from the top of your library and draw them, losing life equal to their converted mana cost as many times as you want or until you die. We're going to try not to die using Ad Nauseam. And Sickening Dreams. Sickening Dreams is sorcery here. As an additional cast cost, you have to discard X cards, and it deals X damage to each creature and each player. So if you notice the combination, we're drawing a lot with Ad Nauseam, and then killing everything with Sickening Dreams. So it's pretty effective. But astute as you all are, I'm sure, you'll notice that Sickening Dreams is to each creature and each player, so it will be also dealing damage to us. We have several ways of circumventing that damage, the best of which is Glacial Chasm. Now, Glacial Chasm is a pretty effective card at preventing the damage. It does have a cumulative upkeep cost of paying 2 life every turn. First turn it's 2, next turn it's 4. But our goal is to play this and then cast Sickening Dreams in the same turn and discard our massively large hand to Sickening Dreams to kill them. This is our main defense against that damage, and it's a pretty cheap card as well as far as cost. This is designed to be a budget deck, so good for anyone getting into EDH or somebody who just likes to play combo. This was my first EDH deck. So another method of preventing the damage we have here is Dark Sphere. It is a 0-cost artifact from the set The Dark, and you can sacrifice it to have all the damage from a particular source during any turn rounded down. So although it won't protect us from a full 65 card discard Sickening Dreams, it can protect us from draws upwards of 50. If you're worried about Blood Moon, this is definitely a must-have. Blood Moon is very prevalent in your metagame. Turning your Glacial Chasms into mountains, this is another good way to prevent the damage. My personal favorite way to prevent the damage comes as a double-edged sword. This is Venser's Journal. It's a 5-cost artifact, so it does hurt when we draw it through Ad Nauseam, but we have no maximum hand size, which is one of the reasons it's really good. We want to keep those cards in our hand. We really don't want to be discarding at the end of the turn. And also, at the beginning of our upkeep, we are gaining 1 life for each card in our hand, and it's just another great way. Even without a Glacial Chasm or a Dark Sphere, you can survive a full-on Sickening Dreams hand discard just from the life gain provided by Venser's Journal, it's just a really nice card in case your other methods of damage prevention are shut down. On the same lines as Venser's Journal, as far as keeping our hand from discarding, we do have Spellbook. 0-cost artifact. This from the Exodus, it says skip your discard phase. From its, I think it's like 10th edition, it just says don't discard or something like that. Basically, it's a free artifact. Up in this corner, you can kind of see the 0. In fact, a lot of the artifacts in here have a 0 cost. I will note that, but it keeps us from discarding our hand. We also have Reliquary Tower. It's just the land you can tap for colorless, and you have no maximum hand size. Pretty much the same thing. Now we'll, oh yes, we have a card that I think is pretty important is Boseiju, who shelters all. It's the legendary land from Champions of Kamigawa. It's very simple, comes into play tapped, and we really want to use this to cast Sickening Dreams, even though it costs 2 life, because it has tap, you pay 2 life, add a colorless to your pool, and if it's spent on an instant or sorcery, it can't be countered. This is really important. I don't know how many times I've lost because I decided not to play Boseiju, and I got a Force of Will on my Sickening Dreams. You must play this card. It's almost as important as the Glacial Chasm. So it's very important. Also, for our last sort of utility land, we have Buried Ruin. We are running a lot of artifacts in this deck, and Buried Ruin is just a simple way to recur those artifacts. You can pay 2 and sacrifice it to return an artifact from our graveyard to our hand. That's awesome, with a lot of our acceleration spells too, which we're going to go on to next. So we do have some expensive cards. Marilyn herself is a 3 cost. Venser's Journal is a 5 cost, as is Ad Nauseam. So we are having a bit of a ramp suite here. My personal favorite here, we have Dark Ritual. Everybody knows about Dark Ritual. It's just a great card. Playing this card turn 1 into Marilyn is really good. Marilyn then next turn will let us tutor up our Ad Nauseam, go into Sickening Dreams, just a lot faster, about 2 or 3 turns faster than you normally could. So this card is really awesome. You're not likely to have it in your first draw, but if you do, it's just great. It's also great later in the game when you are trying to cast those bigger spells. We also have Everflowing Chalice. Everflowing Chalice is an uncommon card. It was printed in 4 sets or so. It was Worldwake, Arch Enemy, the dual decks Elspeth versus Tezzeret. It's very common. You can find these pretty easily. It has a multi-kicker cost of 2 colorless. It is free to cast originally, but you do have to pay the 2 colorless. And for every colorless, it gets a charge counter, and you tap it to add a colorless to your pool for each charge counter. So it is a mana investment the turn you play it, but is really, really good for casting those big spells later on. Even with just 1 or 2 kicks, it is really helpful. We also have, we have Lotus Bloom. Lotus Bloom is awesome. It's a suspend 3 for 0, and once it runs out of time counters, it's a Black Lotus. And it has a really nice interaction there. We can play it on our first turn and love it later in the game for casting those big spells, and it has a really awesome interaction with this card right here, if I can find it. Welding Jar. Welding Jar is awesome. It's a free artifact, so we don't have to pay for it again, and it just has sacrifice Welding Jar, regenerate target artifact. So essentially what we're doing is playing our Lotus Bloom on our turn, having it suspended, sacrificing it and regenerating it, and essentially turning it into a free Black Lotus. And that's just an awesome play for 6 mana in a turn, essentially for free, or just as at any time you can spread it out, which is awesome. Still in the ramp section, we have Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal is pretty simple. You play it and get a free mana. You sacrifice it, 1 mana of any color. You can also use Welding Jar on this. It's a good target. Jeweled Amulet is kind of an older artifact. It is still free. You can pay 1 colorless mana and tap the... sorry, I'm trying to fight the glare here. Tap the Jeweled Amulet to put a charge counter on it. But you have to pay colored mana for that, and when you pay the colored mana, when you tap it, you can tap it to remove the charge counter and add mana of that color that you spend. It's kind of weird. Basically, you pay black mana to charge it, and it gives you black mana when you tap it. It's just a little bit of acceleration for future turns when you have a little bit of mana left over that you want to spend. It's a good way to stock up on mana. So we have our Jeweled Amulet. Up next, we have Graveyard Recursion in Felden's Cane, which is 1 colorless artifact. You can tap it to reshuffle our graveyard into our library and then remove it from the game. It's just very good. In case something happens and we do get countered, it's great. Graveyard Recursion. Same with the Elixir of Immortality. It does the same thing except for 2 mana, and you gain 5 life, and it gets shuffled back into your library. This is good if you get countered or something and you need to recur the Ad Nauseam Sickening Dreams combo. This is how you do it. We do have some creatures here. We have 4. They're all 0 cost. We have Phyrexian Walker, which is a 0/3. We have Shield Spear, which is a 0/6. But with Shield Spear, every time it blocks, you put a -0/-1 counter on it. So it does weaken over time, but it's a very powerful blocker in the early stages on the ground. We have Ornithopter. Ornithopter is just a 0/2 flyer for 0. And we have a Memnite, which is just our 1/1 for 0. So a little bit of ground protection, just to make sure everything hits and everything works well for us. So there we have basically the entire suite of things, except we're missing basic land. And there's a lot of basic land. We have 78 swamps. That's a lot of swamps. A lot of swamps. It doesn't really matter if they're foil or not, whatever you choose. You can get them bulk online pretty cheap. The reason we use swamps is, yes, we do need the mana, obviously, and also when we cast Ad Nauseam and start drawing, we want to hit our land drop every turn. Duh, that's going to happen. And also, these don't hurt us when we draw them with Ad Nauseam. So you can, if you have 78 swamps, it will lower the cost of getting this deck online, or however you're going to get it if you play MTGO. Otherwise, 78 swamps is not exactly super hard to come by. So you can get swamps. But basically, we have 21 not swamp and 78 swamp. There's a very good chance that your first hand will be all swamp. Although we do have 21, you will probably, hopefully, get something you can cast as well, maybe one of our utility lands or a 0-cost artifact or creature on that first turn. But you can always count on having a lot of swamps in your hand. That's one of the constants here. So this is the completion of the tech itself. Here is a fully laid out spread of our library. We can see just about everything there and a giant stack of swamps. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell. I know you can't really probably read the cards, but that's all right. Check out the article on mtgostrat.com about this deck. It does contain a deck list rather than just me telling you the name of every card, so you should definitely look at that if you want to build this deck. Please leave comments. I would like some comments. And also, if you like the video, please hit the like button. It only takes a second and really helps me out. Thank you for watching Magic Gathering Strat. I'm Peyton, and goodbye.